Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again, back with more legal advice. In today's case, a woman claims that she is the owner of my house and wants me evicted from my own private property. She then wants to sue us to get what she wants. This lady is out of control and I honestly don't know what to do. Here is what happened. The title story goes like this. So, my husband and I bought a house in 2016 from a bank as it had foreclosed upon the previous owner. About a year after we moved in, the previous owner showed up at our front door and tried to push past my sister to get into the house, saying that she owned it. She left after threatening to call the police, but showed up 4 to 5 more times over the next 1.5 years, doing the same thing. She brought the police herself once, and they told her to leave us alone once we showed him our contracts from closing on the house. He said that if she came back, it would be considered trespassing and included in his paperwork that she was not welcome on the property. Fortunately, she has not been back since then. We invested in a Ring doorbell and security cameras near each door after the first 2 visits. After that, she brought us to housing court in 2018 to try to evict us from the house that we own, but did not show up because she put our address down as her own in the paperwork and therefore never received the notice to appear since her copy was mailed to us. Fortunately, we have title insurance and they sent a lawyer to represent us for free, and the judge dismissed the case with prejudice. About a year later, she did the exact same thing, but showed up to court saying that she has a certified deed to the house, so she clearly owns it. The same lawyer represented this time, and the judge dismissed it again. So now onto the mail part. A bit over a year ago, we began receiving her monthly phone bill in the mail. She didn't just forget to change the address after she moved. There was a 2 to 3 year gap with no mail in her name, so my husband brought a few of them unopened to the post office and explained what had been going on, and they said they would take care of it. Then in summer 2019, the key to our mailbox no longer worked. It turned out that she brought her deed to the post office, said she lost her key, and asked them to change the lock and give her a new key. And by the way, Ripe Stars, I actually wasn't aware that if you lose your key to your mailbox that you have to go to the post office to get a new one. I think the whole process would be very different in Europe, but it's once again interesting to see how it works in the US. But anyway, fortunately, when my husband realized the key did not work, he went to the post office and was able to intercept before they gave her the new key, so I don't believe she actually gained access to the mailbox. During this time, the cell phone bills never stopped and we've been receiving more mail in her name from a radiology office, the Motor Vehicle Association, and other random non-spam items. I worried she is trying to do the same thing again, have mail sent to our address, steal it somehow, and attempt to use it to prove residency. My husband said when he told the post office manager what had been happening, they would report it, but we have not heard anything at all. And as I mentioned, the mail in her name has increased since then. I tried calling the post inspector's hotline, but it went to voicemail and I've never gotten a response from any voicemail I left to them. To be honest, I'm just kind of at a loss of what my next move should be. I just want this mess to be over. And Ripe Stars, if you would be in this situation, please let me know in the comments what you would do. This is certainly a unique kerfuffle to be in. Anyway, some people in the comments suggested you may want to also tape a notice to the inside of your mailbox stating "so-and-so not at this address, all mail for so-and-so refused." And then any mail that does get delivered, write addressee unknown and scribble out at least part of the handling barcode. Comment number 2, the USPS says the right thing to put on the envelope is "not at this address" and then dump it in a mailbox. When you do this, be sure to cross out any barcodes on the envelope so the USPS automated system does not try to send it back to you. Next, you should call or write the USPS consumer and industry contact. You don't have to give them all the rigmarole about the crazy lady, just that your local post office is being unhelpful about a large amount of misaddressed mail. Putting a sign about "not at this address" on the mailbox may also help, but a harried mail carrier may not even look at it. Comment number 3, there is good advice here, but I am concerned about the housing court. The first case was dismissed with prejudice. She refiled the same basic case and it was allowed to go forward. While it was a quick dismissal, there should be a request for costs or even sanctions. Even though covered by the title insurance, you should not be paying to defend yourself against the same suit over and over, as with prejudice means never ever to do this again. Also, my guess is she is doing this without an attorney. If she ever has representation, you/your attorney should be filing a bar complaint against that attorney. They have a duty to research the validity of the action prior to signing their names on it. If you are dragged to court again, and I bet you will, your attorney also should be asking the judge to take action on a vexatious litigant. Everything you are doing in your story is correct and the proper way to proceed. You'll probably not get a lot of things to do beyond your current steps taken from this forum, as you're already taking the proper steps. And now we have an update to the story, and it goes like this. Update: I wanted to provide an update on the situation with the lady who was convinced she owned our house. After seeking some much-needed legal advice, we decided to take legal action against her. We hired a real estate attorney who helped us to file a complaint in the circuit court for the county in which our property is located. In our complaint, we alleged that the lady had no legal right to our property and that her claims were without merit. We also requested that the court issue an injunction to prevent her from continuing to interfere with our use and enjoyment of the property. As part of the legal process, we were required to serve the lady with a copy of the complaint and a summons which informed her of the lawsuit and the date for her to respond. We were able to serve her through a process server who delivered the documents to her in person. After she was served, the lady had 21 days to file an answer to our complaint, but she failed to do so. As a result, we were able to file a motion for default judgment, which the court granted. This meant that the court found in our favor and entered a judgment against her, stating that she had no legal right to our property. Additionally, the court issued a permanent injunction which prohibited her from making any further claims to our property or interfering with our use and enjoyment of it. The whole process took around 6 months and it was not cheap, but we were able to prove that our property is ours and we were able to put an end to this whole ordeal. We are now able to move on and enjoy our house without any interference. I want to thank everyone who provided their legal advice and support throughout this process. It was a tough journey, but it was worth it in the end. And yeah, Ripe Stars, please let me know in the comments if you like these legal advice stories, because we have not done them in a while and I kinda want to get back to them a little bit, because they are always fun to read. Either way, the next one is titled, "My neighbor allowed everyone to steal my property." Long story short, I live in New York. My boyfriend's hobby is to take reclaimed wood, custom cut it and make tabletops or shelves out of them, selling some tables for $400 or more. I had 3 of these 7-foot long oak wood sitting on the side of my house for a month, out to dry in the sun on planks. Those pieces can be sold for $1,200 or more when finished. This lady that lives in the area assumed that they were for the trash can and publicized the wood online as next to a dumpster and going to a landfill. My recycling bin was next to this wood on the back end of my house. I came home to my wood missing and I found her post online, giving it away for free with my exact home address for all to see. Someone unknowingly thinking it was hers to give away snagged them away. I then contacted the guy and got it back. I then wrote her a message showing her a screenshot of the New York State Government Property Line's website of my property's border, which she clearly crossed over to take the photo of the wood on my property. I told her to never do that again and mind your own damn business. Her response was, "I'm quite too busy to read all this. Either way, it was a mistake. Good luck out there in this crappy world. It sure is a bear." After that passive-aggressive BS, I went to the police. I filed for trespassing. The cop said I could get her for possible larceny. I don't know how that would work if she didn't take it herself. I'm just wondering, how far can I push this? I am now completely uncomfortable with doing future projects in my own yard, and the entire town I live in now knows my exact address attached to my name because of this lady. The cops said they would go to her home and ask her side of the story. I have pictures of her post, pictures of my property line, and screenshots of many people I didn't know very well, asking me if her post was in fact the wood on my property that I had posted on my own Facebook that I was in search for, linking my exact name to that exact address. I work as a bartender in town where I have many strange men I don't want knowing where I live. She posted it to my town's Facebook page. Maybe if she was more kind I would have let bygones be bygones, but now I am thinking the world sure can be a bear. Comment, I would not worry about the trespass but pursue the larceny. The question is whether the police/DA think they can prove she made the post. Comment number 2 on Reddit: move forward with the police and the criminal case and ask them to forward it to the prosecuting attorney for review. If nothing else, the police will get a response from her as to how she was on your property, why she was there, and what in God's green earth she was thinking. It's obviously unlawful, but specifically what kind of unlawful is an exercise in going through your state's penal code, and that's the prosecuting attorney's job. A lot of states have some kind of vague catch-all criminal mischief on the books, intentionally interfering with the property of another. I took a quick cruise through the New York Penal Code and did not see anything that was quite the perfect fit. She obviously committed the violation of unlawful advertising. You might also consult with a civil attorney. My guess is she didn't approve of your wood and took it upon herself to get rid of it. Now, due to her actions, you are deprived of the natural lawful use of your property. You've got a civil claim against her. And comment number 3 from Reddit: since you say the police are being so good, you may want to just ask them to keep a file on it and talk to her. They should probably advise her to edit her post to say that the wood does not belong to her and it would be theft if anyone takes it. That should cause enough fear in her to help correct the situation, and if anything else goes missing, once your cameras are installed, there is even more evidence to go after her with. You don't want to start a war with her, but you need to be able to enjoy your home and hobbies there. Update to the story: I am pleased to report that the matter concerning my neighbor's uninvited intrusion onto my property and her subsequent sharing of images of it on social media has been resolved to my satisfaction. So, after seeking professional legal counsel, my spouse and I decided to initiate legal proceedings against the individual in question. We retained the services of a skilled civil litigation attorney who assisted us in filing a complaint in the circuit court of the county in which our property is located. The complaint alleged that the neighbor had trespassed on our property without permission and had also violated our privacy by sharing pictures of our property on social media. We also requested that the court would award us an appropriate compensation for the harm caused by her actions. The legal process required us to formally notify the neighbor of the lawsuit by serving her with a copy of the complaint and a summons. The neighbor in question failed to respond to the complaint within the allotted time frame, which allowed us to move forward with a motion for default judgment. The court subsequently ruled in our favor, finding that the individual had trespassed on our property and violated our privacy. The court also awarded us damages for the harm caused by her actions, including compensation for emotional distress and any expenses we incurred as a result of her actions. The entire process took several months to complete, and while it was not inexpensive, we are satisfied with the outcome. This experience has taught us the importance of protecting our property rights, and we are grateful for the support and guidance provided by our attorney throughout the proceedings. And now we will move on to the next one, which is titled "Disgusting Creepy New Neighbor." So I am a mid-20s female. I bought a house with my ex-boyfriend out in the sticks of Kentucky about a year ago. Not terribly long ago, he cheated on me and abandoned our home to be with his new girlfriend. So now I own this property and live here by myself. One of the people that live at the house, multi-generation home across the pond, is a 20-year-old male. He's been watching my house and saw that my ex is not here much anymore. So he comes down about 4 days ago and we are having a regular old friendly neighbor conversation about the guinea kids I was getting for him. Then he gets creepy. I made the mistake of telling him my ex and I broke up, and he instantly started asking very personal questions. He asked to take me to the movies, if he could come over and watch a movie, to go fishing, to go shooting, to hang out. I said no to all of these, explaining first that I'm not interested in dating or hanging out, that he is my damn neighbor and that's weird, and that I am seeing people. But he continues to insist. I tell him flat out no, and that I can be his neighbor, and that's it. Make an excuse to go inside. I go to a friend's house for a few days and notices he drives past my house at least 10+ times in a 2-hour span on my security camera every night. So therefore I keep my doors closed and locked. Yesterday he decided that no means yes, and he comes to my door asking to come inside, that he just wants to talk about the guineas and that he has a Rambo DVD for us to watch. I only have the door cracked a bit and tell him 5+ times that I'm in the middle of something, that I'm busy and that he needs to leave. I am pissed, so the final time he tries to insist, I slam the door on him and lock it. Any legal advice for this? What would you do? So far, I know I'm gonna be video recording any interactions he attempts with me from now on and keeping my gun loaded and close by. But I know trespassing is a sticky law, even in KY. I don't have no trespassing signs up at the moment though. I'm also putting my house on the market this Saturday because I'm just done and I want a fresh start considering everything that's going on in my life right now. But I'll be at the house lot while it's on the market. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, that ending is very sad that OP considers selling her house just because of this creepy, obnoxious neighbor. But then again, what would you do in a story like this? Please let us know in the comments. Some people on Reddit suggested, call the police if he shows up again. I don't blame you for wanting to start fresh. I live in the sticks of SC and it's pretty scary at times in the woods alone. Comment number 1, time to escalate with the authorities. While he has not done anything illegal yet, it's good to get this documented. You also need to start viewing him more as a threat than an annoyance. You say you have the doors locked and yet you also know talking to him through a cracked door. Stop doing that, he is a threat to your safety. Lock your doors and don't talk to him at all. And now an update to the story. I wanted to provide an update on the situation with my neighbor who had been behaving in a disturbing and unwanted manner. So after seeking legal advice, I decided to take action against him, as I had broken up with my partner and was now living alone as I mentioned before. I retained the services of a reputable attorney who specializes in harassment and stalking cases. They assisted me in filing for a restraining order in the court of the jurisdiction where I reside. In my application, I provided evidence of his persistent and unwanted behavior, including unwanted visits, phone calls, and messages. I also stated that I feared for my safety. The court granted me a temporary restraining order and scheduled a hearing to determine if a long-term order was necessary. At the hearing, I presented evidence of the neighbor's behavior and the impact it had on me. The judge reviewed the evidence and listened to the testimony from both sides before issuing a long-term restraining order. The court prohibited him from having any contact with me, coming within a certain distance of my residence, and owning any firearms. I then also filed a complaint with the police department and they investigated and charged him with stalking and harassment. The case was then brought to the court and he was found guilty and was sentenced to a probation term and a fine. Honestly, the process was not easy. It took several months and it was emotionally and mentally taxing, but I am satisfied with the outcome. I was able to protect myself and my property from any further unwanted behavior. I want to thank my attorney and the legal system for their help and support throughout the process. And yeah, Ripe Stars, so far, so good. That's exactly what I thought, and at first I was very happy for OP that the problem was seemingly resolved. But then I saw a second update and it goes like this. So it's been several months since my last update regarding my neighbor who had been behaving in a disturbing and unwanted manner. Unfortunately, the situation escalated to a dangerous level and I was forced to take drastic measures to protect myself. As a reminder, I had obtained a restraining order against my neighbor which prohibited him from having any contact with me or coming within a certain distance of my residence. Despite the legal order, my neighbor continued to harass and stalk me. He would often loiter outside of my home, leaving notes on my car and calling me constantly. One evening, while returning home from work, I was ambushed by my neighbor in my own driveway. He had been waiting for me, and as soon as I got out of my car, he lunged at me, attempting to physically assault me. I was able to defend myself and quickly retreated to the safety of my home, locking the doors and windows. I immediately called the police and reported the incident. The officers arrived on the scene shortly after and took a report of the incident. They also arrested my neighbor for violating the restraining order and for attempted assault. As a result of the incident, the prosecutor's office filed criminal charges against my neighbor for violation of the restraining order and attempted assault. He was subsequently held on bail pending trial. The trial lasted for several months, during which time I had to testify about my neighbor's behavior again and the events of that night. The evidence presented in court, including witness testimony, physical evidence, and my neighbor's prior criminal history, were enough to convince the jury of his guilt. He was found guilty of violating the restraining order and attempted assault and was sentenced to several years in prison. It was a long and difficult process, but I am glad that justice was served and that I am no longer living in fear. The experience has taught me the importance of taking action when faced with harassment and stalkers, and I hope that my story can serve as a reminder for others to do the same. I want to thank the police department, the prosecution team, and the court system for their help and support throughout the process. And yeah, my dear viewers, I hope you really enjoyed today's video because we haven't had legal advice in a long time. So if you enjoyed the content, please don't forget to subscribe and like the video to show me that you like this kind of stuff. Thank you so much in advance, and I will see you again tomorrow.